the opportunity to introduce Pankaj to you. Uh, I can say Pankaj is one of a veteran in our industry. He's been in international education for 22 years, if I'm not wrong. Uh, Different organizations and different roles he's played, uh, from Amity International, working with University of Leeds, Career Plus, and now with UTS College as a regional director. And you also you're also an alumni of Leeds University, if I'm not wrong,
That's
Pankaj.
right.
Correct.
That's right. I did
So
my
so
MBA.
you've seen both the sides, being a student as an international student, and now
Yes.
recruiting international students to
Yes.
your to UTS College. Uh, One more feather, if this one I know of because this one is very recent. Pankaj ji was awarded an outstanding leader in International Higher Education Award by K-12 Education Leaders Conclave. Is that right, Pankaj ji, right?
That's right. That was by a body called Universal Mentor Association.
Great, great.
Thank you.
So a very warm welcome to you. Uh, Pankaj ji, the idea of this webinar is, uh, because both of us being from the industry, and especially when we talk about Australia, uh, during this pandemic, there have been a lot of happening, and students who are keen for studying in Australia uh, have a lot of questions and they want to get some answers. So we thought you would be the best person, to share your insights of what's happening and what's not.
Sure.
So let's start with the most burning question right now, which is what's the government's plan of opening up the borders for international students?
I think this is a very hot topic, and even yesterday we had meeting also. Today we had meeting also. This was discussed also. I think the government is saying that we are opening up. The government was planning to have 80% vaccination, which we have achieved now. And obviously, we are in Sydney, UTS universities in Sydney, UTS colleges in Sydney, and New South Wales has achieved higher percentage of that also. So I think we are the first state to open up very soon. If you have seen, Air India has started flights from Delhi, Sydney on 15th November. Qantas is starting on 6th of December. And the government, Scott Morrison, Prime Minister, also said once we have 80%, we will open up. So as soon as the December comes and we have the pilot project of 250 plus 250 students for New South Wales, I think that is a beginning. And I think we should see more things happening. I think the first few, obviously, students will be who have been studying online, so they are prioritized. Then these are people who have been doing research or lab-based courses, they will be prioritized. Uh, we have March intake, we have July intake also. Most of the universities also have February intake. I would assume that the government should decide and announce very soon by when they will allow students, because recently there was an article and the minister also said that quarantine may not be required for fully vaccinated students. And from India, we have advantage. Our Covaxin has been approved, Covishield has been approved. From Nepal, we have Sinovaccine, which has been approved. So I think 7, 8 vaccines have been approved by TGA, which is good news for students who have been vaccinated from South Asia, from India also. And so I am hopeful, like maximum it can be like students have to study one semester online, because like the priority will be given to students who have been studying online for 2022, 2021. So they have to come fast to join the courses, because they have been already studying for a long time and their visas are there. Visas already had fresh students who apply now. I think they will get a chance to study maybe first semester online, and then by July, I think things should open up more clearly and visibly, and people will be able to study in Australia or Sydney, wherever they go.
Okay, so in nutshell, correct me if I'm wrong here. What I understand is, yes, the government is very eager, and very soon there would be huge changes for opening the borders, and they would, priority would be given to students who are already enrolled and already studying online, and students who are into research or medical fields, and fresh students would be, if not March, I mean, it's a presumption. We don't know anything as of now. If not March, then max by July it
Right.
probably will happen. And I guess that the best idea for students would be, not to literally wait for news that borders are now open, because and they should start enroll and start in online, because if the course, if whenever things open, they would be on top of the list to enter Australia,
Right.
rather than
Right.
starting a course then and then waiting for it. That might delay it. Because I
No,
also
the-
believe, for it's been closed for 1.5 or almost 2 years now. There's a huge backlog of students who are waiting for it. So there would be huge rush for visas and processing, and hopefully they are not delayed. I mean, in case if the processing is delayed, then again it's going to take a lot of time. So I think the students should enroll as soon as possible and start at least online, so that they don't have to wait for all that.
No, very true. You are correct. Actually, like even when we had some meetings with the Australian High Commissioner, also he was there at a ED function also, and he also suggested that students, the moment they join a course and the CO is issued, they should file the visa. The reason being, as you said correctly, that they can be top in the queue. So the moment borders open, they are priority listed also. And as of now, the Australian High Commission has said, the High Commissioner said in a lot of seminars that we will give priority to students. So it will take 15, 20 days or maximum 1 month. So I think it is good to have visa on hand and then start studying. The moment you come into the list, you can move on to Australia and Sydney preferably, because Sydney will be the first state to open up easily for students.
True. Great. So, of course, we all are very positively hopeful that borders are going to open soon, and that's what we wanted to give an authentic information to the students who are here, so they also know what's going to happen. Now, before we discuss and share some information about UTS College, but before that, just want your insights and your inputs, and ideas that you want to share to students. Why Australia?
I think Australia has been a very positive country in name of students going from India, and it has been among the first choices, I would say first, second, third choices for a long time. Australia, you can say, is a very safe country. Students are there, big cities are there. Sydney, Melbourne are very popular for Indians, Asians, I would say South Asians. Big beaches are there. A lot of industry linkages is there, so students can find part-time jobs. They can get good jobs. We have students who have done masters and have got jobs worth Australian dollars 65,000 also, even during COVID time. So it's a very positive message to give to students. So part-time jobs are there. Universities are very highly ranked. The QS rankings for a lot of Australian universities are very high. So quality is very good. If you take care of UTS University, which is our parent university, we are part of UTS College. So we are in QS, we are ranked 133rd, while in Times Higher, we are ranked 143rd. So this is a very high ranking for university. The ministers, he was there at the PI conference. He also says that we are welcoming students. They are a big backbone to our industry, fourth or fifth GDP provider. And there are plenty of part-time jobs. Even today also there was an small article that they need doctors, they need healthcare people, they need restaurant people. So when students go back, there's plenty of jobs available to them, and they can save some money and earn some money and even experience a style of Australian culture also. So I think it's a preferred destination for Indians, Nepali students, Bangladeshi students, and Sri Lankans also.
If I can add to it, also is of all the preferred destinations where especially students from Indian subcontinent prefer to go, I think Australia is the most multicultural. The division is not huge. In fact, Australia is made of immigrants. It's a country of immigrants. It was made by immigrants. And also, when we talk about whether full-time jobs or part-time jobs, the payouts, Australia is, I think, if not one, they are top. They're somewhere on the top in all those countries, in terms of whether it's part-time job salaries or full-time job salaries. They are one of the best payers in the world. So that is also one good reason for students to join. Great. Thank you so much for sharing that information, Pankaj. Now, yes, let's talk about UTS College. You already shared one information that, it's a part of UTS University, which is the parent organization. So what's UTS College part in that, and what UTS College has to offer to students?
Sure. So basically, we are UTS College, which is University of Technology City College. So we are the pathway provider to UTS University. So we directly send students who study with us for first year to go to UTS University for second and third year. This is our diploma programs. We also have foundation programs where students who have lower than 60 to 50% marks, they do the foundation and then they study the first year and then go to UTS University for second and third year. Besides this, we also have some academic programs which are running, which are some levels of English. So you can do those programs in country and then come to us because sometimes the visa from India and other South Asian countries, you may not get those easily. And recently, we have also launched a pre-master's program in which are in 3 areas like business, IT, and communications, in which you can do 1 semester with us if you have 6.5 IELTS. If you have less than 6, if you have 6.0 IELTS, then you do 2 semesters with UTS College, and then you do the remaining 3 semesters at UTS main campus, the main university. So mainly it is diploma, which is after 12. So diploma students who get like, let's say between 60 to 65% can join us for the first year. They study at UTS College, and then they migrate or top up to the UTS University for second and third year. So the students do not lose any year. They will study 1 year with us and then 2 years remaining at UTS University, because in Australia, the bachelor's degree is 3 years. While at master's level, it's a 2-year degree. So they do 1 semester with us at the pre-master's level and then 3 semesters at the UTS University. If they have 6.0 IELTS, then they do 2 semesters with us, which has some English component and academic component. And then they do the remaining 3 semesters at the UTS University. So it is a linked progression. It is a pathway provider sort of thing. And we are in proper Sydney, very close to the background you have shown, the Opera House, and very close to the train station.
Walking distance, I know. I've been there.
Sort of thing. And the campus is huge. We have around 45,000 plus students on the campus, very lively campus, a lot of societies. I think 237 societies at the UTS University, which is big numbers to talk about. A lot of clubs. I was there last February before COVID, and there was a orientation program in February happening. So I went around all the stalls to look at the clubs they had, fishing club and all those, a lot of clubs they had.
Hundreds of clubs. But did you get a chance to see, the new building inaugurated?
Yes.
It's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful building. So, I mean, if I sum up, of course, students have a lot of benefits in terms of if they do not qualify directly for the university, or if, the IELTS score is a little less, to get directly into the university, they can take a pathway program without losing any time or in the course duration through UTS College. And I guess on top of that, there is one more thing, for international students who are going to a new country and new culture, straight away going to a university sometimes does come as a cultural shock. And at UTS College, the classrooms are small, the number of students are small, so it's easier for them to change to
Like our class size is normally around 20 students, so as opposed to the big university like UTS, so they will study in small groups so that the faculty's attention is more, you mix more with the students, so more personal attention is given to you because your academics has been slightly lower, therefore you're coming to a pathway provider. So that thing is taken care of. You can interact with teachers more. There are a lot of academic programs in which you can participate. So at least you develop what was missing or percentage was missing, and then you progress to the UTS University where you have more students to study as a group.
Great. Okay, now talking about when we talk about all the courses, and I would also like to know, one of the big factor on which students decide the university and the course from India especially is scholarships. Right. So are there any scholarship options available at UTS College?
Yeah, for international students from South Asia and other countries, we offer up to $8,000 scholarship, which is roughly 25% of our fees, and that is offered by all the offices across, by all the agents also they can offer in consultation with their office. Besides this, the university, UTS University has 100% vice chancellor scholarship. They have some progression scholarships which are from UTS College. If you progress to UTS University, there's a 50% scholarship also for limited number of students. Recently, UTS University has announced a 20% scholarship also for students who are graduating from UTS University, UTS College to UTS University and joining them in 2023. So UTS College students who join in 2022 and then when they articulate to UTS University in 2023, they will get 20% fee waiver for all the years, like second year and third year. So which is a big discount for a lot of students actually.
Wow. So, this is a big opportunity to, enroll in 22 itself. So it's a huge benefit because, fees is a big factor of your total expenses. And if you get such kind of scholarship, it's very beneficial for the students. So I understand there are two types of scholarships. One, which is directly offered from UTS College for students who are applying. And then there are some scholarships when students graduate from college and enter UTS, then they get it.
Yes.
So of those scholarships which are directly offered by UTS College, these are before at the time of application when the student apply they get those scholarships.
Now what we have done this year, last year we have slightly changed the policy. Earlier it was coming with the offer. Now when the student applies and when the partner or the agent requests that this student is keen and he would like to apply and do the payment, then we have a process that the partner can inform us in our office in South Asia, which is based in Delhi, and we authorize the scholarship. So it is given to them. It is up to 8,000. So we can give 4,000 also, 8,000 also, depending what the student is expecting and what the partner is expecting. But it is easily given sort of thing. Like it is after you have got an offer sort of thing.
Okay. So at the time when student is ready to accept the offer, pay the fees. So before paying the fees, we can discuss about the scholarship with you and then accordingly pay the fees after scholarship. That's great. That's great. Now, one more aspect which I wanted to talk to you about, as we said earlier, one factor we have already established that going to a college would help them getting used to the new environments because classrooms are small. It's easier for them to adjust. Other than that, what kind of other support services or facilities are there for international students when they come to UTS College?
As you correctly said, one is the biggest advantage is we are a college, so we have a small class strength for every group of students who study with us, right? The other programs are we have peer mentor relationship also where students which is a non-academic relationship. So if they feel something is missing, they're homesick, they can talk to peers or they can talk to mentors who are academic staff, right? Then we have Studio City, which is another thing which has come up. We have other options also, like next year we'll be launching our live programs also, where students can study some part of the program online also, and they can study other part of the program also. Like in India, for example, UGC has proposed that we should study 40% online from next year. So something similar is also being worked out. So there's a lot of, we have a in-house on the campus, on the ground floor, in the present building, a student support center also where students can come asking for any help on the internet cards or anything because during COVID time, the UTS college offered a lot of flexibility on if your internet at home was not working or not high speed, we could give you some credits and small cards were there. So a lot of flexibility was given to students, and I've been to the center myself, and I find it quite good because one is they're helping the student, they are able to understand the problem, and obviously ideally, I would assume these are international students who come to student support center because Australian students have been through that structure, so they know the style and they can do a lot of things on their own. It is international students mainly who want some help, support, which is out of the way. So the UTS College Support Center helps us students a lot, and there's a lot of support available. I feel like I've been only 18 months into the job, but I've been to the campus and it looks everything, because if students are happy or alumni are happy, that means everything is good actually.
True, very true. Just a small thing in between. I've got some questions, but just to let the attendees know, please keep dropping your questions in the QA session, and we'll take these questions after we have discussed all the matters, and then we'll pick up all the questions and answer all your queries. But you can still drop in your questions at the QA sessions. Okay, going forward. Yeah, so when we talk to most of the universities in Australia, there is one common thing which we've always heard from them, and I always, try to share with students here and tell them, it's very important and you need to understand. The normal thing that they come up with universities is that we have so many support services available for international students, but especially students from India, they never approach us. Okay, so I believe that is probably due to either hesitation because they're not either used to that kind of support, because I don't believe when we were studying here at university, there were no support. There was zero support available. All right. So I believe it's still the same. So either they're not used to it, that there would be actually some support given for any matter. So I guess that is one of the reasons that international students do not. So I always tell, and to the listeners who are attending this webinar, every institute in Australia has huge number of support services for international students, and most of them are for free. The only thing is you have to approach them.
Very
You have to approach them and they will really help.
Very true. No, you have to go talk to them, call them up and physically meet them. That is the issue, that you have to take the pain of going. If you can call up also, but I think it is better to go personally, speak to them, because they can understand, have empathy, and give you suggestive options also. And these are free services, as you said very correctly. And these are offered by all the universities across Australia or across the world also, because they understand that international students have come for the first time outside their homes. A lot of them would have traveled first time in flights also. So there are a lot of homesick students also. Some students are shy, some students are outspoken. So the shy student is a big problem. Outspoken student is still not a problem, but a student is very shy, very conservative. That is the key student where you need some support, or peer support, or mentor support, or advisor support. And besides this student support also, there's a career section also, which helps you with a lot of things. They help you prepare your CVs, they have to do your mock interviews. So when you go, when you finish, when you're just in the final year and preparing for your interviews and all, so that is a support system which is there for all the students, and it is given free by UTS University, so that you can enroll in them, go to them, prepare, do mock sessions, and help for your jobs also.
True, very true. Okay, now coming to my let's call it a final question, because then we'll have questions. Pankaj, you've been an international student, and now you are representing an international university to Indian students. So you have seen both. So I guess you would have the best pointers to share whenever a student is planning, for overseas education. Let's assume they have finalized the country, or even if, let's say, they've just started. What bullet points should they look at? What kind of research they should do? How should they, shortlist and finalize which country, which university or college, or which course they should?
I think like there can be 5, 6 pointers to start with. One is, you should be clear what is your aim of study. You should be able to decide which country you're looking at based on what is the objective. Do you want to study and come back to India? Do you want to study and work for some time and then come back to India? Do you want to study and work and settle in that country? So if you're looking at permanently settling, then you have a post-study work permit or work permit rights, what we call. So Australia offers that right. So if you do a 2-year course at undergraduate or master's level in Australia physically, you can get a 2-year work permit in the big cities. In other cities, you have 3-year work rights also. So that should be also a criteria to where you want to settle. Like, students should think sometimes long term, what is our objective? It is not like just thinking 2 years, 3 years down the line. We should have a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan, though it's very easy to say. But you will say, I'm young, how can I think long term? The other thing can be, one is city you can decide, or the country you can decide. That will slightly can alter, because big cities have a lot of extra living costs, but you have big opportunities to do part-time work also. If you come to Sydney for UTS University or college, you have a lot of part-time jobs, because Sydney, Melbourne are the 2 big cities in Australia which are popular for international students as well as foreign tourists. Students enjoy there. And then you have to look at rankings and ratings also. As I mentioned, UTS University, for example, has 133 in QS rankings, 143 in Times Higher ranking, which are very important. Course content is also very important. You should look at what the university is offering. If you click on the course, then you can go into what my subject is being offered. because sometimes the titles can be very confusing, because titles are very confusing. So you should read what is the content in the class, what I'm studying. And then scholarships, as you correctly said, scholarships help, and it is a big burden for international students to come all the way, spend so much money. So if a university is giving you a scholarship, why not avail that scholarship? If it is automatic, very good. If it is not automatic, apply for it, bid for it, prepare a good resume, prepare a good statement of purpose, apply for the scholarship. The vice chancellor 100% scholarship, 50% scholarships are not bad. I've been a student on a full scholarship also, so it's good to get a full scholarship and study. I'm talking long time back in 97, 96 when I went for my MBA to University of Leeds. So because you will always tell students or your family or your interviews or whatever CV that you went on a scholarship, which is a positive thing in India to say that, oh, I went on scholarship. The point is nobody will ask you whether you got 10%, 20%, 50%, 100%. You went on a scholarship, you went on a scholarship. That is good enough to say. So I think these are criteria you can look at, and sometimes you can look at even faculty also. What is the industry linkage? Are they offering any internships program? Is there a built-up program of internships? What is the packages? So a lot of universities may not disclose packages, but if you get in touch with the ambassadors of the university, there are students who help. There are alumni, some of them of the Facebook pages are there. You can get a feel of what potentially you can expect in terms of salary also, what has been the trend in the last 2-3 years, and decide a university, because in Australia, there is a group of 8 universities, which are the top universities, which we say for research, GO8. Then we have, like, for example, UTS University is very well ranked for computer science courses. So you can do courses in IT, big data, blockchain, and all those courses. So I think subject, city, rankings, scholarships, and tuition fees, obviously. And the purpose of study. So whether the aim is clear, whether you want a PR option, then you go to Australia. If you don't want, if you want to come back, then you can choose other countries, sort of thing. Because I assume a lot of students who go to Australia are looking for settling down, a big country, population of just 2.5 crores, which is very good. If you go outside the main cities, countryside, then you have big places to go, beaches are too good, and it's a big place to reside in the long term, if you look 10, 20, 30 years sort of thing.
True, true, true. So I hope, the students have taken, pointers out of these when they start selecting their institute. And, out of one statement which you said about group of 8, I've been, when we talk about among our peers and all that, and I always used to say, if instead of group of 8, it was group of 10, then I'm sure UTS would have been part of it. So yes, UTS is almost there, but this group of 8, they won't, you can't add more people there. So UTS still, I believe, is is almost in those ranks. Anyway, great. So we won't keep the students waiting now. We have a couple of questions. So let's start with one. So I have one anonymous attendee. The question is, can you guide for PhD application?
PhD, normally, I would always say, like, I've been into education, as Vaibhav sir said, for 22 years. So PhD is like, you have to assume it is like a marriage between you and the university or the professor. So you have to go to the faculty website, see what research interest he has, what papers he has been presenting, his profile, check on LinkedIn, and then submit a proposal to the faculty. If the faculty likes a proposal, he will say apply. That is the stage you apply, and that is the stage you can ask him, are there any fellowships available? Are there any scholarships available? And that is the process which is followed for PhDs worldwide. So that is the process you have to follow. So unless you show your research thinking, and you have to make a research proposal of, let's say, 1,000 words to 2,000 words. So at least the professor gets a feel that at least you have something in mind. You cannot say I make a 10,000 word proposal before even going to a PhD, but at least you have a concept note of what you're looking at and what you want to study and what is the research you want to do. And then like professors have to choose, like they have already so many students, so they select the best student, and obviously it has to match with what the faculty is already doing. So your PhD will be a small baby of the professor who is doing a big research in a long-term way.
So for PhD, there is one general suggestion which I always share with students. the normal expectation at any PhD degree, not just Australia, any other country, they would expect that you have done some research already and you already have some publications, which generally is not there in India for master
India.
student. So the best alternative, there is one, Australia offers a beautiful alternate, is masters by research.
Masters.
So their entry requirement is normal entry requirements. You don't have to find a guide and get his approval. Apply as a normal application for masters by research, get admitted, go there, get in touch, then you're there with the professors and all that. And most of the time, if you're doing good, by the time you finish your first year as master's research, they pick you up into PhD automatically.
PhD, yeah.
So that is more easy way of approaching PhD rather than straight away applying for PhD. It's a long process. The application, it's a long process. Professors check your criteria, they compare with others, then they answer you back. So this alternate is fast and very doable.
Right.
All right. Bansari is asking a question. I'm assuming Bansari is the anonymous because it links to the question. I mean, how to apply requirements and all. So I am assuming that Bansari probably changed the name from anonymous. So that's how you do it. If you want to know more information, you can come down to our office, talk to an Australia consular, and they will give you in detail the whole process, how to do that. Jubulu, if I'm pronouncing the name correct, is asking, do you take under 18 students? Do you provide accommodation facility for under 18? Pankaj?
Yes. No, we take students who are under 18. We have tie-ups for UTS University and UTS College with Urban Nest, which has been recently bought by Scope. So they can stay there also. So that should not be a problem.
Great. Okay, Jublu, I have plenty of questions. What is the procedure to get scholarship? As Pankaj already shared, first you apply, get an offer letter, and when you decided that you want to go ahead, of course, we would share with you, the requirements for scholarship. You would know at the time of accepting this offer, we'll send a request to UTS College for scholarship, and they will respond back with whatever amount, as per your profile is approved. You'll get that scholarship, and then you pay the fees accordingly. The scholarship amount would be deducted, and you pay the fees.
Yeah.
That's true, right, Pankaj?
Yes. We can issue from our South Asia office, we can issue the scholarship letter itself. So we just need a request from your side as the partner helping the student that this student is looking for scholarship. And within like 2-3 hours, we can approve it. Just take approval from HO. And we have the offer letters with us. We just customize and send it to you.
Perfect. Okay. So I would, call Jubulu a proactive student because this is the third question he's asking, which is good. I love these students. If you have questions, that means and you're keen. So what is there any minimum pass marks to get into UTS, or can I get into UTS with just pass score from college?
This is a pre-master student asking the question, or a postgraduate program, I assume, because he's saying after college.
I think it would be undergrad because he asked for under 18 wala question, so I guess he's under 18, so probably a school student.
Right. No, basically, when you graduate from UTS College to UTS University, there is a requirement that you should have a minimum number of fails, 2 subjects that is allowed. So that is the only thing. And the success rate for our South Asian students have been 100%. I don't think anybody has failed also. During COVID times, we had some students who had some problem, but that is understood because obviously you were studying online and the timings were different, other things. But normally we did not have any problem like this, unless the student is very, very bad, which should not happen because, which is a very rare case, because Indian students who are spending so much money, they would be serious, their parents would be serious. And they plan because if they have chosen UTS College, that means the ultimate aim is to go to UTS University, which is a high-ranked university. We are the top young university. Our engineering school, our business school is very, very popular. So they assume that they have to study hard when they go to UTS University. So they should be good student, I assume.
Great. I hope that answers your question. So on other platform, we also have some questions. So Avani is asking, uh, need to know the benefit to opt for pathway program. So, the big question, why pathway, why not direct?
Basically, like pathway is meant for students who cannot get direct admission to UTS University. If let's say the requirement for UTS University for a bachelor's in business is 75% in class 12, if you don't have 75, you have between 60 to 75, then UTS college comes into the picture. So you do the first year with us, and then you go to the remaining 2 years with them. The other thing could be if your IELTS is slightly lower, then we have slight extra provision like UTS will ask for 6.5, we can accept with 6.0 also. So one is the academic percentage is lower in class 12. Second is your IELTS score is slightly lower. Therefore, the pathway comes into picture. When you go to pre-masters, it is slightly different. We can look at backlogs also because in India, a lot of engineers come, a lot of students from BBA come. So if UTS, let's say, takes 20 backlogs, we can take in some courses 25, 30, 35 backlogs also. Besides the slightly lower academic percentage, like if UTS University is asking for 60%, we can take with 55 also. If they're asking for 6.5 IELTS, we can take with 6.0 also. So that is the feature of a pre-master's program, that with slightly lower entry requirements, you study a program with us, and then you top up to the main program at the UTS University.
Perfect. Oh, so Jubilee has also shifted to the other platform. One more question here, but I'll take it later, Jubilee. Probably I'm going to see you in office very soon. So next question is from Arpita. It's a repeat question again. Somebody has already asked it. What are the requirements to get transferred to UTS from UTS college? Let me see if I was listening to you or not. You have to pass and only 2 fails are allowed. If you have failed 2 subjects and you've passed rest, you can transfer to UTS University. Right? Is that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Great. So I hope that answers you, Arpita. Mitesh is asking, I have completed my BCom from Gujarat University with 55% in 2018. Am I eligible to apply for pre-master's program?
Technically, if you have got 55% in BCom, you should be able to apply for our pre-masters in business program. The only issue which can come is like, what have you been doing after 2018? Because we are already in 2021. By the time you join in March, let's say, it will be 2022. So if you have been doing something, if you have been working, then it should be okay, because normally 1 year gap is fine, but 3 years, 4 years is too much. I think there Vaibhavji and expert education will come into play and see your documents and assess whether you fit and your visa is granted, because we can give you admission, but if you don't get visa because of your 4 year gap, then we have a problem. Then there's no point in offering admission. So that is, I think, expert education in Ahmedabad can help you. You visit their office and show your documents. And ideally, I assume you should not have been sitting idle since 2018. So that should be okay, ideally.
See, I assume, Mitesh, there is one thing which is going to be common with almost all the students, probably who passed out, who completed their bachelor's, is the COVID period. Probably that was somewhere where they might not have been working. That we can still, justify.
Yeah.
But as you said, 2018, so this is more than that. So
Yeah.
we would have to know that, you were occupied and you were doing something. So you can come to the office and we can help you with that. So Jubilu again. So what his question is, after he's studied from UTS college, does this pathway work for other universities other than UTS?
The foundation, the academic programs are approved by, I think, 70 plus institutions. We will give you a diploma certificate. You can apply to other universities. I think as per the official recognition, it is approved by the Australian government because it is a CRICOS code and all those accreditations are there. You can shift there, though normally we would not recommend a student to shift from there, because if you see the background, you got a combined COE with UTS college and UTS university in it. You got the visa on that premises. So unless there is a issue, maybe financial or some reason you want to shift, then it is fine, because you have to still inform the visa authorities that you are shifting your university. though it is not recommended, but if there is a requirement, then you can check over there. I think it is a qualification which is approved by Australian education framework. So it is technically possible to change.
Yeah. So, for the benefit of the students, UTS College is part of UTS. So they have a clear-cut pathway, what we say, with UTS University, of course. They're not a standalone kind of that who work with everyone, but the academics which are offered by UTS College are approved, accredited, which are accepted anywhere. You can, if you have to, for any specific reason, because then it has to be a different process. In UTS College to UTS, it's almost done. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to apply again and, give an interview or anything. For different university, you might have to go through that. Okay, so you're welcome, Jubilee. Okay, so before we get any more questions, there was one more thing which I wanted to ask. Of course, I mean, being a representative, you cannot be biased to one faculty to other or one career line to other, but just for the benefit of the students to get an idea when they are picking any course or a career in Australia. What areas are in high demand? Or let me put it like this. Where do you get more applications for? Which courses you get more applications for?
If you see from India, we get main applications ideally for business school, for engineering courses, for science courses, and then you can say for health also, for design also, for architecture also. But mainly it is business, engineering courses, IT courses in a big way these days. Like engineering has taken over by IT, I would say. So a lot of students think that IT is different, engineering is different, while a lot of universities assume it is same actually. So IT engineering is same actually, but IT has taken a big boom in the last 5-6 years, I would say. And UTS College also has seen a lot of applications in IT. So these are courses. Design is there, architecture is there at UTS University, health courses are also there, communications is also there. But still, like India is like still business engineering. So that is what, if you've seen Three Idiots, obviously it is engineering, right? There's very few movies which talk about business school, except for two states, which was about business school MBA program and all. So it is ideally engineering, and India, still the parents are always like, you should do engineering, or you should do medical, or you should do medical. You can do a lot of allied courses now: biotechnology, biomedical sciences, health sciences, hospital management. But the parents have a conception that if you do biology, you have to do medicine. If you do physics, chemistry, math, you have to go to engineering. So I'm also an engineer by background, so I cannot blame myself also.
But I think thankfully, since our times, things have changed a lot. The parents are allowing students, to different fields and different areas now, so which is a good move. So okay, just to give more clarity, probably what Pankaj cannot say openly, but I can. There's a huge career scope for engineers, people in medical field, IT field in Australia. There's a huge demand. Good number of jobs are available and they are paid well. So, and of course, see one area which I've known and I've seen it, which probably most of people from India might not understand. In Australia, nurses come before doctors. Okay, and they are almost put at similar level. And the UTS nursing program is one of the best there, and the facilities I've seen, the mannequins. So you do not either study or wait for some people to try your hands on. You have high tech technology there, mannequins which are computer programmed, and I mean, it doesn't make sense just talking about it, because this is something which you need to see to understand how good those things are. Anyways,
that is true. Like if you see, like nurses, healthcare is in big demand. Even today, I was reading articles. They need 250,000 healthcare workers in Australia, which is a big demand. The students who are doing first year, second year, third year, or masters will have good part-time jobs option. IT is in big demand. Engineering field, STEM courses, which is science, technology, engineering, math, that has always been in demand and will always be in demand. You cannot say anything will happen without STEM or engineers. Business school, accounting people, financial people, business managers will be in demand. Hospitality is also an area which is coming up. Australia being a very popular hospitality destination.
True.
If you see Qantas, I was reading the article that Qantas has started a flight to India after a decade, which is 10 years. So I was surprised to read the article. Why Qantas was not running a flight to India actually.
Let's see. And yeah, true. I mean, if we compare the numbers, as Pankaj said, around 2 lakh medical practitioners for a country of a population of 2 crores. It's a huge demand. It's a huge demand. Amazing. So I guess let me just check if anybody has any other question. Otherwise, it was great having you here, Pankaj, and very thankful for you to share your insights. I hope it helps students, to get a little more idea of how they should plan and go ahead with their application process. And the big takeaway from this discussion is that right now is the correct time to start your application process for Australia, so that as soon as when the borders are open, you don't have to wait anywhere in any line. You're on top of the list and everything goes smoothly.
Very true. Very true. That's true. Thank you.
Great. With this, we'll end the discussion. And for the students who are here or on our Facebook or Instagram who couldn't ask a question, you can come to our office anytime. We'll help you out. And thank you so much, Pankaj.
Yeah, thank you, Expert Education. Thank you, all the students and Vaibhavji for inviting me for this session. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.